Hello, vinyl community. It's Bill here again, and I'm back to do another corporate report, acquisitions and divestments for Q1 2025. Would you believe it?
So, Dale from Gatefold 33 is always saying, where are the divestments, Bill? So, here are two that will be divested in Q1 2025. So, first up, the Van Morrison sort of country album, Three Chords and the Truth. Very competent album, some great musicians, but yeah, it's not exciting me. And so it's going, and going with it is a CD of Wilco Schmilko. And yeah, don't really listen to this, and it's not as good as Being There and some of the earlier pieces. So bye bye Wilco.
So, yeah, let's, no, for a start, Flexi-disc, Herb Alpert and his friends. I think this was found in, another album, but it's quite interesting. I don't know if you could count the number of tracks on it, but yeah, not only do we get Herb Alpert and friends, I think there were some Carpenters and maybe about four other tracks, and not sure if it was introduced, but yes, it was Brian Matthew, who I think was a Radio 1 DJ, or maybe it was the Light program. And he introduces this, I think it's a Reader's Digest free audition disc. So, yeah, thought that might be of interest to you. So, let's go back to, I did I'm not sure how well received it was. It was the Bob Dylan songbook video because I'd been in to see A Complete Unknown, the Timothée Chalamet biopic, which was, thoroughly enjoyable cinema experience. So, yeah, related to that, and wait till you see this, I decided I needed to I have Bob Dylan's more greatest hits on vinyl, but I thought I would get the Bob Dylan's greatest hits. This is the one that has, I think that's the poster, quite a nice poster. You've seen it on umpteen bedroom walls. So, yeah, not sure if my wife would give me permission to have it on my bedroom wall at the moment. But did you see the state of this? So I ordered it from that well-known online retailer. It's got a name like a river in South America. And I got it delivered to my local post office in case I wasn't in when it arrived. So went into the post office to collect it, and I said, "Oh, it's a record." And the chap went to the cupboard and pulled this out. And thankfully, all the corners are nice and straight. They haven't been creased in the delivery process. But I couldn't believe they just put the address sticker on top of the shrink wrap. So usually I think when I've bought from this online retailer before, it's come in a nice cardboard sleeve that protects the record. But the vinyl plays beautifully, and yeah, I'm very pleased. It's got, yeah, Blowing in the Wind, which was one of my father's all-time favorites, and Rainy Day Women, numbers 12 and 35, and Like a Rolling Stone, Mr. Tambourine Man. So yeah, it does what it says on the tin. Bob Dylan's greatest hits, and some nice snapshots of the album artwork for his early releases. So really pleased to have that one. So I think that was one of the first purchases in January. And then the last purchase is also linked to that film, and it's Joan Baez Volume 2. So beautiful vocals and guitar. Uh, all tracks are traditional, apart from Plaisir d'amour, which was written by Martini Il Tedesco. But yeah, the Cherry Tree Carol, the Lily of the West, Once I Knew a Pretty Girl, The Banks of the Ohio, really good. And have I ever shown you this book before? It's from way back, first published in 1975, and pre-internet. This was one of the ways that I built the foundations for my record collection. And on this page, you can see that it's sort of Dylan and folk music. It says America in the 60s, from Newport to Woodstock via Greenwich Village and California. So, yeah. Yes, I was able to. Pages are falling apart. I was able to put a tick or a blue circle next to Joan Baez Volume 2. So it's good. I had that courtesy of my local library for quite a while when I first got that book. Right. And next, I need to be very careful as I hold this and show it. So this is the Electric Bath, the Don Ellis Orchestra. So a cover that's not too dissimilar from Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix, but this one was recorded in 1968, and it's the Don Ellis Orchestra. Well, they're really a jazz orchestra. I think the sleeve that had the price sticker on it had it labeled as Cuban jazz. I think it's more jazz fusion. It's maybe an early example of jazz fusion, but a very interesting album. I think let's look at some of the things that's written on the essay here. It says that Indian lady has the feeling of a hoedown in a harem. This bluesy tune in 5/3-2 features Dawn on some fancy trumpet figures, which utilizes the fourth valve of his horn for quarter tones. The instrument, which sounds very much like soul electronic organ, is Mike Lang on the Fender electric piano. And yeah, there's some interesting descriptions of the music. I think Turkish bath is the only jazz sitar music that I've heard. Obviously, sitar's not to the fore throughout the track, but it finishes on a sitar note. And yeah, there's a real cacophony of jazz just by it's not a swing band, but it's I think it must be uh, more musicians in a swing band. Might be wrong there, but it certainly has got the volume of a lot of people playing jazz. Some of it reminds me on like the soundtrack of sort of people walking on the sidewalk rather than the pavement in New York, and these huge skyscrapers going up to the clouds. So it reminds me of some of these 60s type documentaries that are set in New York or tell something of the story of Manhattan, etc. And one of these tracks really gives the feeling almost West Side Story-ish. And then there's another one that reminded me of sort of sci-fi jazz tinkling, etc. Really good album. Yeah, the cover is by Angra, Ingres, and it's Lebain Turk, and you can find it in the Louvre in Paris. So yeah, really pleased with this electric bath. And at the same time as I got that one, I think I picked this up for just a couple of pounds actually. And it's Dinah Shore and Lena Horne with the Lower Basin Street Band. Interesting description of how good value on Camden Records this jazz presentation is. It's interesting. We've got Moon Indigo, Sophisticated Lady, Basin Street Blues, Body and Soul, and yeah, there's what, one, two, three, four, five, six tracks that feature or end with the word blues. So as well as Basin Street Blues, we've got St. Louis Blues, Memphis Blues, Beale Street Blues, Ant Hager's Blues, and John Henry Blues. So it's quite interesting. So on one side of the LP, you have Dinah Shore doing all the vocals, and another equally impressive jazz female vocalist is Lena Horne, and she does the other side. And can I tell you which tracks are done by which chanteuse? No. Right. Another book to show you. I think I spoke about this one the last time. And the Roots of Rhythm Remain by Joe Boyd. So I thought, yeah, time to get a lot more world music in the collection. So got this for £2. This equals mark. It's not, or maybe it is from an Ed Sheeran album. I don't know. But this is Los Machucambos in phase 4. So I don't know if that's a, special stereo edition. I'm trying to see. It says it's from 1962, and yes, this is probably the worst condition record I've ever bought. So if you take it out to the sleeve, the front cover's a bit like that, missing, yeah. And the back looks as though something's taken a bite out of it, or more than a bite out of it. Nice illustrations of the instrumentation. And yeah, I think to be truthful, the inner sleeve's not much better. But I love this record. It's I took a chance on some world music, and yeah, the gamble paid off. So there's sort of two tracks that you might know. One is La Bamba, which was it a hit single for Richie Valens in the late 50s or early 60s. And it's a traditional song, didn't know that. And then probably for young people's first exposure to world music, you can't go wrong with La Cucaracha. La Cucaracha, La Cucaracha. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Don't give up the day job, Bill. So, yeah, it's that's the opening track on this. I think there was La Palomita, which I think was maybe a top 10 record in France in the mid 60s. But yeah, this is great. There's a bit of harp on it, there's a bit of guitar, some beautiful singing. Yeah, check out the Los Mucho Cambos. I think you'll get it on your usual streaming service. But yeah, worst ever cover. But the vinyl plays beautifully. So that was a great pickup. And then my local, or one of my local record stores, Gold Star Records, puts out a regular FaceTime, not FaceTime, Facebook post. And he shows, maybe about 8 to 10 records. And then you can message the wonderful Ruben and reserve one or not. So I became a Lemonheads fan with Shame About Ray last autumn, I think it was. And yeah, one of the records he showed being available was Car Button Cloth by the Lemonheads. Nice sort of textured. Can you hear that? Uh, it's almost like woven on the back, but yeah, really nice packaging. Although the artwork itself, don't know who did it, but yeah. So nice gatefold with some information about the recording, and I think there's some additional tracks from the original release, but we've also got well, I think it's a cover. Uh, I think it's called The Outdoor Type, and love the lyrics of The Outdoor Type. And there's a track on side two which has, not sure if it's called Six, but it's got six and then IX, like Roman numerals. But yeah, and there's Knoxville Girl in this, and Hospital is quite interesting. But yeah, Evan Dando on guitar, lead vocal, percussion, piano, bass, Toilet Moog, don't know what a Toilet Moog is, and drums on Tenderfoot. And Bill Gibson plays bass, guitar, tambo, and does some backing vocals. And yeah, there's quite a few guest guitar players as well. But yeah, really pleased to have this one in the collection now, and I think it's a limited edition, but yeah, comes on nice red vinyl too. So really pleased to pick that one up. Now the trouble is when you see a record, and the wise thing to do is say, Ruben, how much is that? And then you make a decision whether you want to purchase it or not. But I said, I'll have that. And I said, by the way, how much is it? I won't divulge that now, but it was probably more than I normally pay for a single. Well, no, it's a double album actually, but yeah, more than my usual budget for vinyl purchases. But I got that, and then when I went to collect it, if we now go into record collector's logic. So not only did I get the Lemonheads album, I got this one too, which is Flesh and Blood by Roxy Music, which has got a great cover of The Midnight Hour, that Wilson Pickett number, and The Same Old Scene, and Over You. Good cover of 8 Miles High by the Byrds. And yeah, it's a really nice album. I'm trying to remember when it was released. 1980. So yeah, I think Roxy Music have always had a sophisticated sound, but this album is very sophisticated and very, I was going to say kind on the ear, but yeah, very pleasant on the ear. So you can maybe read there's Over You is on this album as well. And then the idea was that if using record collectors logic, if I bought 3 albums and divided the total cost by 3, the average price per album would come plummeting down. So this one was £2, and because I'd purchased the Lemonhead one, I got this one for free. But I must admit, should I say this? Out of the 3 records, this is by far my favourite. Josh White, he's a sort of blues man, but does sort of gospel blues as well. And I don't know if you can see at the bottom there, it says Mercury High Fidelity. So this, again, was recorded in the 60s. So the session began on the evening of the 4th of January, 1963. And Josh White, who's got a beautiful voice, was recreating the tracks that he used to sing and record when he was in his 20s. So, yeah, well, maybe in his 20s, but he'd recorded between 1924 and 1928. Yeah. So he'd started his blues career in the 1920s. But yeah, we've got Key to the Kingdom, a track called Howling Wolf, Evil Hearted Man, and Blues Come from Texas, amongst other things, including a reference to Job chapter 19, sort of Bible reference there. But yeah, did I mention about the Mercury High Fidelity recording? the sound on this vinyl is fantastic. So we've got a pianist called Floyd Morris, and then we've got Eddie Williams, a West Coast drummer, and then the wonderful thing for a blues uh, fan is that it's got Sonny Boy Williamson the second is playing harmonica on this fantastic album. And what did I say about the Mercury high fidelity? It's as if you were in the room. It's fabulous, really good. So 3 more records to show you. The first comes from a series of albums that I think came out in the 70s. And this is Living Chicago Blues. And this is volume 4. But when I looked on Discogs, there seems to be a few variations of volume 4. I think most of them have this photograph of the blues guitar player on his balcony and the loop train in Chicago passing by his balcony on the, well, I can't remember what they call it, but it's an elevated track anyway. But yeah, this is really good. Features tracks by A.C. Reed and the Spark Plugs, Scotty and the Rib Tips, and Lovey Lee with Carrie Bell. And yeah, really good tracks. I think there's, for each of these 3 artists or 3 groups, you've got 4 tracks each. Really nice stuff. So I was pleased to pick this one up from another store in Aberdeen called Aberdeen Vinyl Records. And then the same visit to the shop, I picked up this one, which is American folk rock blues from the Albert Hall in October 1969, recorded live at the Albert Hall. And this has got quite a selection of artists. So we've got Juke Boy Bonner, who plays harmonica and guitar with on the track called Jumping with Juke Boy. And then there's Errol Hooker and John Jackson. And you may have heard reference to someone called Clifton Chenier, who does vocal and accordion. And I think that's a New Orleans sound. But yeah, he's got his brother Cleveland Chenier on washboard just to keep the rhythm going, and Robert St. Julian on drums, I think. But yeah, nice pickup as well. And then this book is about world music, and the chapter I've recently finished was about reggae and ska and the music of Jamaica. So I took a chance on this one. Feels So Fine, the birth of Jamaican ska. I'm not sure if Nick Vinyl Butty would really like this. I think he would. So it's the birth of Jamaican ska. So it's early stuff, and again, seem to be doing early 60s or early and late 60s. But This has got a total of 28 tracks on 2 vinyl discs. There's some really nice tracks. One called Shuffling Jug by Clue J and his Blues Blasters. And then Lauren Aitken with Duke Reed and his group do a nice song called More Whiskey. But what I find amusing, I don't know if these Jamaican guys in the early 60s had a problem with coming up with lyrics for their tunes. So, for example, we have Eric Humpty Dumpty Morris and Drumbago's All Stars, and they do a track called Humpty Dumpty. And you can maybe guess some of the lyrics with that. And then we're Cecil Bird and the Sir D's group do Baba Black Sheep. And yeah, I think there was at least one other where there's a reference to nursery rhymes. But yeah, there's a really nice song called Millie Girl by Owen Gray with Prince Buster. That's a name you'll have heard. And the Voice of the People. So, yeah. And Prince Buster also does Time Longer Than Rope. So, yeah, it's, to me, it's not quite the ska that we know from sort of two-tone covers by the Specials and Bad Manners and people like that. So I think there's something missing with regard to the ska, but the beat has definitely got a ska beat, and there's plenty of horns, plenty of saxophone on it. So I think I'll probably need to give this another few listens, but yeah, feels so fine, the birth of Jamaican ska. So not only did I have the one with La Cucaracha and La Bamba, I've also got some Jamaican ska. So I think the next chapter I'm going to read is called Lacho Drum, and I think Ravi Shankar and sitar music is going to be heavily spoken about in that particular chapter. And I wonder if they will mention Don Ellis and the sitar on that Electric Bath album. So that's it for me for Q1 acquisitions and divestments. Take care. Stuart, I'm not sure if you're still watching. All my new subscribers, thanks for pressing that subscribe button. And yeah, I'd be really pleased if you'd leave a comment or two, because I think the Bob Dylan's songbook got no comments at all. So I maybe need to up my game with regard to future videos. Bye just now.